Big expansion plans are in the works at the Roger Williams Park Zoo. Mark Murphy, the editor of the Providence Business News, joins us now to talk about that. The plans are in the cover story of the current edition of the paper. Pretty ambitious plans, too.
Yeah, it's a three-phase, about $75 million, undergirded by a $15 million bond that was approved by voters a few years ago. And they're in the middle of phase one. They've just completed about $5 million of work. They have to raise the rest of the $10 million for this first part, which will come from donations, public and private, as well as just philanthropic donations. And they've moved pretty far along.
In the last couple of months here on Coffee Break, we've talked about the rainforest, the Faces of the Rainforest exhibit. That's kind of a relatively new feature and a draw to what I understand are 650,000 people a year visiting the zoo and maybe the park too.
Yeah, and so far this year, they've about doubled their attendance. Now they have about 650,000. Their goal is to get to 1 million a year, which is pretty ambitious, but they feel like with the investments that they have, they'll bring more people from outside of the state, which increases the economic impact of the zoo as well.
It's possible that more people know about the zoo than know about the planetarium, the other park features, including the Temple to Music, the public concerts, and maybe even the swan boats.
And the carousel. So I think that is probably true, but that's also one of the reasons the city contributes $2 million to the annual $12 million operating budget of the zoo, as they see this not just as a resource for outside the city, but really for the people in the city. It's something they say, Mayor Lhowe says, they can be proud of, they can recreate there, and they can learn. And that's really, the people at the zoo really look at themselves as teachers, conservationists, and people that can really inform people about, other folks about the animals.
And there's a study that's underway now or maybe completed to work towards all this?
Well, there's a study, they measured the economic impact a few years ago, so there's a current study. And I think direct spending was, they thought was somewhere about $30 million, but there's also implied spending. So, whatever the employees at the zoo, and in the course of a year, they have almost 250 employees. Now, they're not all full-time all throughout the year, but they obviously take their wages and they spend, so it's sort of implied spending is generally the term.
The Roger Williams Park Zoo, according to the article, is the second largest tourist attraction by number of visitors to Rhode Island after the Newport Mansions, and there's a lot more about their expansion plans in the current issue, in print or online, of the Providence Business News, and thank you for joining us, Mark.
Thank you, Frank.